You are listening to WXNA LP Nashville 101.5 FM.
We're always having a yard sale, but it was just our dignity, you know?
We chanted the mother song. We held our breath. Inhale. Exhale. Oh, but it's worth just living day by day.
You're listening to Public Comments, an arts equity radio show on WXNA 101.5 FM, Nashville.
I am Christine Hall.
And I'm Lydia Yousief.
We are here today in the studio with our guest, Elisha Israel Mrozik, a Memphis native with a BFA from Memphis College of Art, a multidisciplinary artist, and Middle Tennessee's first licensed black tattoo artist. Her work has been showcased in the Frist Art Museum and the National Museum of African American Music, with projects ranging from murals and interactive art installations to award-winning tattoos. As the founder of One Drop Ink Tattoo Parlor, Queen Bee Ink LLC, and North Nashville Arts Coalition, she is focused on uplifting women and BIPOC artists, creating community-engaged fine art, and integrating art with social purpose. Welcome, Elisha. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. I'm so glad to be here, seriously, in community.
Yeah, love that.
It is awesome to be sharing this moment for you. It has been a long time coming, and we're really excited to hear from you. Mm-hmm. In the style of the show, we would like to invite you to start us off with a 2-minute, approximately, public comment akin to one someone would give at a publicly noticed meeting, say for Metro Arts, and just kind of tell us about how you see the state of the arts here in Nashville, and then we'll spend the hour unpacking.
What are we doing here, people? Why are we pretending like art is not work? Why are we pretending like the arts do not matter, when the very essence of everything that you remember in your life is related to a form of art? Those nostalgic memories of some greater time are all based on artistic versions of reality. We have to support the creatives that make this city the place that people want to come to. The paltry amounts of funds that make up the budget for Metro Arts, the smallest department of Metro, yet one of the ones that benefited the most being that we are Music City. I mean, we come here for this. I mean, I don't know anybody coming for anything else. You know, that is what makes this city, because it's supposed to be a haven for creatives, right? For those who want to express themselves, whether it be music or every other form of art that also resides here. Like, I think capitalism has taken its toll on the arts so heavy that if it's not a marketable consumable, that it's not necessary, that it's only fit for decoration or for padding bank accounts through inflated value systems, you know. And we are a community that I feel like can change that, especially when you look at comparable cities who spend reasonable amounts on public art. And look how beautiful those places are. When you go to a Miami and you go to the walls out there, it's amazing. It's beautiful. You want to be there. You come there to support that community, and those artists get an opportunity to put their work in front of the world and go on to lead fulfilling careers in the arts, or to just get their message heard by the people they want it to be heard by. You know, it's really a shame and a stain on us as a city that we can't support the very arts that we drain and consume from on a daily. What happened if everybody stopped supporting the arts that we produce? Where's your economy then? I mean, I just think that the thinking around the arts as a society needs to change and understanding the human portion of ourselves that comes out in the creation of work, and understanding how valuable that is for a society to be whole and connected. But the goal isn't connection and community, right? That's not the goal. We need to quit playing and stop telling ourselves that is the goal, because that's not the goal for the ones who hold the money.
Yes. Elishaba Israel Mrozik, thank you so much for starting us off so strong, as we would only imagine from you. You have brought so much life and light and power to this Nashville arts community. It's a wonder watching how you move through the world, all the energy that you have and you bring and you instill in the people you interact with, the people who perceive your art. I know that it changes them for the better. I've witnessed this. So I love the role you play in our community. I love how you speak to it, and how, the decrying of the commodification and the calling in of the community, and that you're doing that not just with your words but through your actions. Thank you.
I appreciate it. I really only want to be a part of a community that is what that definition is. I don't think I've ever seen a true community in the sense of what I've heard stories of, heard tales of, that they show in propaganda-based things. Like every time I think I've seen it, there's some deviousness behind it, and some corruption, whether it's some kind of cult-based thing or some kind of, just, it was a facade. Right. Like, I want to find where the real community is, because it came from something, like, it wasn't just a made-up story, I want to be a part of that, and I want that for my kids. I want people to love where they're living and work together to make a better space. Like, why not? Why not? Like, that's my question. Why not?
Why not this way of life that feeds and nourishes us and fosters this connection?
What's the problem if everybody around you is also winning?
Oh, wow. Why would that not be the very best?
That's amazing.
Right.
Like, I love it. Like, I ain't gotta see no suffering. Like, I ain't gotta see no pain. Like, we all winning? Okay.
Uplifting each other, feeding each other, cheering each other on.
It seems like sensible, but the world obviously is not a sense.
Got some upside down, topsy turvy, backward stuff going on. Let's get into it.
I love the energy you bring, in a sense of, like, every single time I see you, you have, like, you've got your lane, you're going in your lane, and you're very consistent about that. And I love that. There's, like, just, you're going down this lane and you're doing it for the community. I remember when you came in for the February 2024 special session, this was also kind of a theme for your public comment, and you keep reiterating this idea of, like, art is work. I'm wondering if you can kind of speak more to that concept, because I think for many of us it's kind of natural. There's no music without musicians. There's no painting without the actual person who's going to paint it. So if you can kind of speak more to that and your experience with that.
Absolutely. And I think, first of all, like, work has been skewed. The definition of work has been skewed, because all of the technology and so-called things that are supposed to make our lives easier haven't actually done that, and we've just kind of made up more BS work that is done just to make people work 40 hours a week, because that standard is what we need to have. I work 60 hours a week. Like, I work so much, because being a full-time artist is risky AF. I have to pay bills. I got 2 kids. I got a husband. He works too a lot, so that we can afford to stay in Nashville, where we've made our home, and actually have a good life. Which, what's wrong with that? Again, why should not we have that if we're working? I provide a service as an artist, and one of the things, especially when you're a professional artist and you're working and making a living from it, and then I'll go back to why art is work in general. But when you're working as an artist and art is work, you're a service provider. You're no different from an electrician. You're no different from a plumber. You're offering a service. Because if you could do it, then do it. Go paint that. Go paint that wall, honey. Make the design. Make it look good. Make it actually have the result you want. You know, no, you know, you can't. And even with your AI, it still is not the bomb. It's got flicked parts. Like, you're not even fixing these things. But it still requires a skilled technician, which is what artists are, no matter the genre. You know, you need an artist for designing the books. You know, you need artists designing the look of this and blah blah blah. So all of these creative forms are what makes a consumer economy tick. You know, you need those things so people will want to consume them. Now, visually as a working artist, and then me, I've kind of carved my own little niche of work in community-based arts, where I get paid as my job to create works, but informed with the community, the organization, and it's great because it works with my ethos of who I am and what I want for the world, and you know, how I can again build that community I want to be a part of. And it's great for the people working with me because they can really see the work that goes into creating that justifies their cost if you're going to bring it down to charts and numbers. And why it helps the community because they see the changes in how people react when they're surrounded by something that they have agency in and they're a part of developing, and they've seen come from zero to nothing, and also they interacted with the person who genuinely seemed to care about what they were feeling and reflected that in the image, or in the activity, or whatever kind of creative engagement that I'm doing, and it pays off. People call me years later and be like, you know, I love this. I watched this mural for 10 years, and I was like, and you know, I'm just like, oh, that's awesome. Like, you painted that mural in my office. We love it. And it makes me feel amazing, especially like students. Like, it was a student who graduated from a school that I had done a mural at, and he saw me somewhere, and he was like, oh man, I remember painting that mural with you. It was so much fun, and I'm going on to do this kind of fashion thing now, and it kind of inspired me to look at some of the creative things I had been thinking about, and I was just like, that's amazing. You know, like, and that goes for all the artists out here doing that community kind of focused work. Art is a service. It is a business. It should be considered a trade. It really should. It should have protections and benefits of which we do not have, you know, and that we as the community struggle to continue to provide for those in need, because outside help and things like what the city should be, you know, supporting us in are not there. I really feel that the public support of art is so crucial in helping artists achieve a new level if they want to go in that community-based arts. And I'm not talking about always funding private projects and things like that, which many have been funded. But, you know, it's about supporting community-based artwork and engagement of the arts with the community, and on a neighborhood scale, not just the big scale. Love the big scale. I love going to the big flashy museums and to the big dope festivals, but what about that everyday engagement in creative ways with communities that really need it? You know, you want to keep kids from doing things over here, have them over here doing game design with a local game design artist. You know, you put iPads in every school. Where's bringing in artists to teach them how to draw on Procreate on those tablets so that they can make comics instead of, you know, videos, you know, doing all of the things, the YN stuff, you know, like we don't want any, like we have avenues, and these kids are so creative. I mean, just look at social media and YouTube where corporations are draining these children of their creativity to use for the purposes of selling their products and pushing their agenda. These kids could be creating the answers to all of these issues that we face as a society and a community. But instead, we've got them to believing that this easy work of being creators of content and things, and then pushing businesses' merchandise is the path forward. That energy could be better spent on creative solutions to this life. You know? And they just pimping them. They just pimp, you know, and it's really the game, you know, is the game of capitalism. But what was I talking about?
Yeah, art as work. Yeah.
Talking about
Yes,
the real
art
value
is
of
work.
art. Yeah.
Art is work. It's not a bad thing. You think it's easy? That's what the problem people think it is, because I like doing art, that it's easy.
Oh, because you make it look easy. Yeah.
I mean, but there's so many hours that go into it, like tattooing.
And your whole life.
My whole life.
Yes.
You know, and whatever is wrong with artists, because we're like manic or something, to be able to do these things. But like, it's so much work that goes into coming up with the idea, taking what you want from, especially if it's a service-based job, taking what you want, can't read your mind, putting it into use, doing all of the parameters you have set, and delivering a product that is amazing within a reasonable time frame, still living my life and getting paid enough to be able to survive during that time and take care of my family. It's a ton of work that goes in there.
Yeah.
Again, if it was easy, why you don't do it?
Yeah.
Now, art is work from a personal art sense is more, I think, work of self, and also can be commodified. But I challenge artists who aren't like looking to take their art as a commodity and make it professional to be careful where you commodify your personal work, because you're doing it for you and the thing you want to get out, and you want to share it, and you absolutely should get paid if somebody wants to purchase that thing. But if you start making it about selling, then it becomes a different thing, right? You're changing, you're going with trends, you're doing these things just to try to sell it over making it just for yourself. And that can lead to artists not being true to what they're trying to do because they're trying to sell it. And you see it all the time. Like, this person is a really good artist, but people, because they want to sell it or they want it to be super popular online, they'll throw it into whatever trend, you know, is going on. And so I think we need to remember that personal art and creation and making is for self first. And if money, commodification or whatnot lends to it, then let's keep it there, but stay authentic in that, right? I have a little bit of both of that. I make a ton more art that never gets a penny.
Yes.
It's piling up in my storage unit. I need a sale, you know, of things that were ideas and things like installations that I've done. They up for a little bit and then they're gone, and all of those things, you know, I try to reuse them into other ideas and things like that. But you gotta really stay authentic if you're gonna be art as yourself. Now, if you want to switch it over to art as a commodity, then you need to think business first.
Commercial art.
Yeah, you need to think business first, art second. You can't be mad that somebody doesn't want to buy this thing that you only wanted to do for you if it's not a commodity facing product, right? Every piece of art is not going to sell in that way. And so artists, I feel like we need to, don't have to choose necessarily, but you just need to be mindful of what's for you and what's for the streets.
Right. Aware. Implement that awareness.
You know, as a tattooer, I think that taught me a lot about it, because tattooing is a service, and a lot of people treat it like it is only, I'm a tattooer, I do these things. And yeah, you'll get clients who let you do anything you want, and that's awesome, and that's dope, and you're spreading that art in a different format, and I love doing those requests. However, the majority of people want a specific thing in the way that you do it, but it's a service, and you have to think about that when you're putting something on their body that you ain't gonna see it again. Tattoos are ephemeral. You know, so that really taught me in meeting and talking and dealing with people over 14 years of this, that I need to determine, like, this art for the streets, this art for my message and my purpose and my vision, and how do I get the art for the streets to fund the vision?
Yeah.
That is some magnificent clarity of vision. If you are just tuning in, this is Public Comments on WXNA LP Nashville 101.5 FM. I am Christine Hall.
And I'm Lydia Yousief.
And in this show, we advocate for the equitable funding of the arts in Nashville. And our guest today is Elisha Israel Morozic. Thank you.
You know, I was hearing you say, like, what art is for the streets. And because this comes up a lot on here, that people, you know, finding the balance between, you know, I do need to make a little bit of money, and I also want to be true to my art form and the art that I bring into the world. And something I appreciate about you is that you have such a diverse and wide breadth of people who follow you and people who appreciate your art. And so when you say the streets, I feel like you're not, sometimes people translate that as like a certain category of people. So just the Europeans. Yeah. Versus like you are bringing your art to the streets, and it may be transforming in a little bit of a way, but it's like a wide range. There's not like you're not for one group. And I think that's where the issue sometimes comes up between community members, when there's a sense of there is a priority of one audience and one group versus the full community. And I also wanted to add, when you were speaking about like people coming into Nashville, I was actually just in Oklahoma City, and I was really scared to go. And they there's like an arts district, and I was very surprised. I was like, an arts district in Oklahoma City. And of course everyone there was like, well, of course, like Black Wall Street was in Tulsa, and like there's like a vibrant Black community here. And I was like, that's crazy, that this little city, what I saw, it made me feel like I was in Columbia or Spring Hill, could, you know, dedicate this much to the arts. And then here I am coming back to a city that's like, it's tooth and nails, right, to humanize artists and not make, you know, artists feel like, oh, well, these people are thieves, these people don't know how to write a budget, they don't know what they're doing, they don't know how much supplies cost, or right
Neither do the markets. Like, nobody knows what anything's gonna cost, because you know, everything's up in the air right now.
Yeah. So it was just two different cities and two different ways of viewing themselves. Was really fascinating to me to come back to Nashville. That is like Music City, and it's like we have no civil rights museum, but like we have all this history, but we don't, you know, to have an arts district, you have to fund the artists.
The tale of two cities. It is. I really feel that, because when I go out of town and I see how other places fund the arts and how artists have amazing access to actual studio space that's affordable. Like, I pay so much for my studio space, but I love being in North Nashville, so I work harder to make sure I can pay to have that space, right? And be present in the neighborhood and not have to go way out to find an affordable spot. And you can't grow as an artist without a space. It is so difficult. Like, I had part of my living room as a space for once, you know. I can't fit this giant 100-foot, 20-foot tall mural on mural cloth that I just finished for the Louis Library. Was not going to fit in my living room. You know, I can't step up to the next level if I don't have access to spaces and supplies and materials and knowledge that'll push me up there. And I want to say Metro Arts Thrive was that for me. I was doing tattoos in my own little tattoo corner, and you know, I have been doing a few little murals here and there with friends and groups, but when I was able to get a Thrive, it taught me how to work with institutions, large, slow-moving organizations with lots of red tape. It taught me to shore up on all of my business things for arts over what I was doing with tattooing. It taught me how to handle a larger budget, because when you are poor, $10,000, $20,000 at once is an amazing injection into your life and into things that you're trying to do, and it's literally no money. Like, I don't think we really understand what $1 trillion is, fam. When we done lived our whole lives under 100K. We done lived our whole lives under 100K. And some of us be out here living great lives under 100K. You know? So like 20K at once, you learn how to use the budget wisely so that you don't spend too much supply, so you can make sure you can pay yourself more, and also leaving contingency for those unseen things. You learn the process, and that training ground boosts you into being able to step forward, and it did for me. I was able to take that first project, boost it into meeting with other businesses, nonprofit organizations, corporations, schools, partnering with them to do more of those things. Oops, sorry. And, you know, making things happen and grow for myself as an artist and as a business owner, and just being able to live off of my work that I am doing, and people coming back. I'm so blessed and grateful that I can continue to be consistent, because that consistency is going to continue to fund me and my family.
And you're building relationships.
And building relationships, and also leaving the community a little bit better. What small part that I can do is small, but it is significant, because art, especially art that's big, and I love big art because you pay more attention to it, and it's really like the artist's propaganda, right? And I always want to infuse goodness and community into that, because otherwise you'll turn to the left and see Mickey D's propaganda. You know, you'll turn to the right and you'll see Big Pharma propaganda. You know, you'll see all of those, and they got the money to put them everywhere. You know, but if I have something in your community that you see every day that triggers a sense of something, like that is my little part that I can do, right, to make a better mindset. Because really that's what we out here for. Everybody out here for your mind.
And it's catching.
And that controls your money, you know?
Yes. Art definitely works on brains. Everybody who engages and interacts with it, everyone who sees it, who witnesses it. I mean, if we're going to be building that capacity, then we need to invest in it. We have to put it in practice, because that's the only way to realize it.
It really is. It really is.
I think you play a big part too, though, in the art scene here. Could you speak more about the North Nashville Arts Coalition, forming that, why you formed it, how that came about?
So back in 2015, myself and 7 other amazing artists and culture bearers in North Nashville were just together, and we were discussing our frustrations with trying to get our art into gallery spaces here, and how we were all meeting roadblocks or kind of just being pushed to certain times of the year when they needed the spaces. And so we talked with some other business owners. I had my tattoo shop, Nathan Harris, rest in peace. I had woodcuts, and we had the garden brunch down on the other end, and we all just got together and was like, we'll show art once a month. We'll have a crawl on Jefferson Street. And it was just a volunteer effort. We started with $0, just everybody putting in their part, donating supplies, things like that, advertising amongst our own, you know, circles and avenues. And Jefferson Street Art Crawl was born in 2016. And it was a super hit. Like, we had the ability to show our art, our friends' art, our neighbors' art, and get the word out more and more about what North Nashville is, what its creative legacy is. And then in 2018, we decided that we should become a nonprofit so we can get more actual money and be more impactful. Because we were still volunteer, all of that, and so we got our 501c3, but we're all artists, not administrators. And so we were thinking, like a lot of people do, oh, if I get my nonprofit, I'll just get grants. Of course not. Of course not. And so we struggled with understanding how the nonprofit corporate system works. And we really just kept volunteering and doing it up until 2020 when things ceased, for a bit. And during that cease down, though, I went back to the drawing board on things and really tried to learn more about nonprofit administration. It is not my passion. So, but I really wanted to not let this thing fall, because I feel like so often the reason small communities' efforts to grow and help and do things fall apart is because one person does it until they can't.
Oh, yeah.
And that falls away from the side, and somebody has to start over. And every time you start over, you have to start from scratch, right? And other people have foundations that have been built and that they're building on top of and on top of and on top of. And they've got skyscrapers, and you're still starting over after only getting up 1 or 2 levels, And I wanted to, if we're going to have an organization, like, what do we have to do to build a solid foundation and then find people who want to build on top of that foundation instead of starting from scratch again.
Yes.
Because there's been a lot of organizations that have tried to do things, but it's really like, it's hard when community got to work all the time, and they don't have always the time and energy to also help everybody else, or be a part of an organization. And so making a strong foundation that everyone can be a part of without it being, oh, well, I want to go over here and start an org, or I'm going to go over here and start an org. Like, we all want the same thing. That's a bigger problem of progressives in general, I think. Though, don't get me into this. But, we they on one accord. We ain't on one accord. We need to be on one accord. We desperately need to be on one accord.
Here.
I love that you brought up when you were speaking about the beginning of the North Nashville Arts Coalition, and the big galleries wouldn't host only in specific time of year. We've heard that a lot from other folks that we've had on here, as well as that kind of extractive nature of
capitalism.
Co-opting.
And what is consumable and what will bring people in at what certain times.
And what they can exploit for their own benefits.
Right. Can you speak more to that experience as specifically a Black artist in Nashville?
Oh, absolutely. I don't have gallery representation. I've never had it. I've tried to get it. I do a whole lot, but everything I've done has been me going out, making relationships and selling. And I would love an art manager to help me out so I can make more art. I spend half of my time doing business stuff.
Artists want to make art.
I want to make art. I totally want to make art, and I just have not had success in being able to show in galleries without my being the one rolling it, making it happen. I find the venue, or I make the plans, or blah blah blah. And I think it's really interesting because I make money. Wouldn't you want to have artists who sell, who make money, who have a following, like who are doing things.
Who connect with the community.
You know, I think it's super interesting, and I don't understand, but it might be due to the messages in my work, which I understand are like, you know, whatever, but people buy their things, you know, and like the messages are always beautiful, even if they're hard, and
they're important.
And they're important. And what difference? And I think about this a lot because in people's homes and in businesses, you know, you'll see art, and it's obviously never black art. It's art from every other country. You got Asian art, you get European art, all of the different countries all around the world. They'll have art from those in their collections and the offices and all of the things, but not black art, you know. And what's the difference in somebody having that classical painting up of one of those big fights in classical European history and a painting of a black family? Like, why is the war one cool and good and perfect and beautiful, but this isn't? Like, why is this more uncomfortable?
Yeah. What
than
are
the
these
war
narratives we're
classic?
lifting up?
You know, like, why is this uncomfortable? Because people are uncomfortable around black art. I feel like it's because they understand and know the history of the suffering of people of color in this country, and they innately have the finagling in their mind that we effed it up, you know?
Yeah, definitely.
So,
yeah.
and they are scared to face that, and so black art makes them uncomfortable, especially happy black art. Like, it's weird.
wow.
It's really weird.
Yeah. That's interesting.
Yeah. The Great Reckoning.
Yeah.
But back to like North Nashville Arts Coalition, one of the things I'm proud of now that we're almost in our 10th year since we started the crawl, we've been able to get some funding and get support from people like the Frist Foundation, Community Foundation, 37208 Fund, and we're really working hard to build more relationships with them and with other funders, because we finally have an executive director who is an amazing woman, Tracy Beard. She is perfect for this. She's from Nashville. She has ties to North Nashville, understands the history. Her doctoral thesis is on North Nashville.
Oh,
you
incredible.
know, and she's an artist herself in theater arts, and she's perfect to take in an AC to a level of being really sustainable organization in the community to have a bigger and better impact. And I'm just glad that I was a part of helping with the foundation.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I know that she is what we need, and we need to be able to continue to fund her to do that full-time work.
Yeah.
So much
Building the
work.
levels, getting that skyscraper up.
You know?
Yes.
And it's not for the downplaying of anybody else. It's simply for creativity to flourish. It's for making sure that opportunities are accessible to the artists in North Nashville and beyond.
Yeah.
And it's also an organization that serves to connect those artists to the community in free and accessible ways, so that the broader community can remember why art is important.
Yes.
You know, like, you can pop up at a thing and be like, oh man, what is this? You can get introduced to a new art form, or one that you've known before, but oh look, I get a chance to sit down for a second and be a little creative and bring my kids. And we try to have artists who have different types of artistic skills out there, so people can learn something new, or just see how artists moves and why you thought it was easy, but oh man, that is a lot of work. You know? And really excited just to be able to move forward with her at the head of making it happen, and me still being there in support. as I move forward to a lot of big projects I got coming up.
Oh, that's incredible. Well, I love that, how you want to leave it one better. Like you mentioned, just this idea of realizing the actual community that you're building in the neighborhood of North Nashville and how that's a beacon to other artists around the town, around the country, around the world. Listeners, if you're just tuning in, this is WXNA LP Nashville 101.5 FM. This show is Public Comments, where we advocate for the equitable arts funding that we deserve here in Nashville. I'm Christine Hall.
And I'm Lydia Yousief.
We are here today in the studio with our guest, Elisabeth Israel Morozic, having an incredible conversation about community, about the North Nashville Arts Coalition, and about being a Black artist here in Nashville.
I'm wondering, you've mentioned North Nashville a lot, so I'm wondering what is kind of the state of the art scene, in your opinion, in North Nashville currently, and what's your vision moving forward?
The state it's still the home of a lot of amazing artists, many of them students. We've got Fisk, we've got Maher, we've got, TSU, all there on the corridor of Jefferson Street. Buchanan Arts District is, it's building up. It's where my studio is located.
It's beautiful.
It's beautiful. However, it's still like not a ton of space that's affordable. Like I said, like I pay rent, y'all.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot. It's more than my mortgage. Okay. So it's really important that we actually start getting space for artists.
Yes.
That's affordable. And it's difficult for small business owners or small building owners because taxes for commercial spaces are infinitely higher. A lot of the buildings are older and need a lot of work. But at the same time, expenses outweigh what you can bring in if you're going to make an affordable space, right? That's something that the state or the city could really help with, subsidize. I mean, why not? It would be giving back into a community, help them make their properties better, but they can still offer affordable rents to creatives, things like that. Because if you're going to go the bank route, you're going to have to go East Nasty, you have to go Gulchy, like you, and then you drive out even more. We already got hit by the tornado. We got hit, by a pandemic, like so many places that were here in 2020 are no longer. And the ones that are there now aren't opening and welcoming in the ways that we need them to be, to rent space and do things. So and I know both sides of the story because I own a business in the area. I don't own the building, but I know that building's over 100 years old, and the cost to fix and remodel is outrageous. And I would like to keep the rent level I have now, and also still be able to be affordable to the community and the things that I want to serve. And it's a very delicate balance within a game that wants to squash the middle. So and I think when people think you own a business, a small business, that you're somehow you got it to do this thing, be like, yo, every year the prices of something go up. Every day the prices of something go up. Something that I need to provide XYZ service, and labor is always a big issue because you want to pay people a living wage, you want to support your people, but everything adds up. And so it's really important that these spaces get support from our tax dollars that we still pay, to uplift things and make them useful. You want to keep people working, make sure that these people have places that they can work out of. Yes. If they're a small business owner, and no, everybody's not going to go work in your factory or whatever, like you still got to make space for those who are outside of the system that you want everybody to be hurdled into. It's just North Nashville has amazing potential to be better than all of these outlying spaces. Like I love this space, but I don't know anybody in North Nashville, artist wise, who can fund these things. You know,
Yeah.
you gotta own property to be able to, you know, XYZ. You know,
Yeah, it's
The land.
it's way more exclusive than inclusive, which in this case is not helping. And the way that you've been able to pull out feelers and help other people connect to what's important and what will keep us afloat as a community, as artists working in community. Yeah, that's precious. That's valuable.
I'm always, my dad's a small business owner, so he's always, you know, screaming and crying and throwing up about all the inflation and, you know, taxes in Davidson County and and I'm always surprised that there was no like subsidizing for small businesses, especially because you know these are like a lot of the cornerstones of communities and are blocking a lot of the corporations from coming in and just overriding a full community. That's true. That's true. They're pro corporate takeover.
I mean, I don't know, man. I'm just tired of pretending like the problem ain't is what it is.
Right.
Like, and that the goal is not what it is.
Right.
Is they don't want it. I don't understand why. I don't understand
But then
power in
the
that way.
pendulum
You know?
goes back, and they're like,
Yeah.
"Oh, I don't want like a city with like one Walmart and like a huge highway. That looks so ugly. Let's go back." And then,
But then you
like,
can't. But then by the time you done push forward, you done knocked down,
Right.
coming back. You done knocked it all down. Now you gotta start over.
Right. With a
And
new
so you're
generation
building
even.
again.
Yeah.
And then it'll get to a point and it'll topple again. But I don't know. I wish we could just all agree that, yo, we all gotta live on this thing. I don't care if people got big money, but don't suck every penny and everything from everybody else.
Right.
You got enough money for 20 million lifetimes.
Yeah.
Again, we out here living good under 100K.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm going to the island for my birthday. You know,
Yeah.
under my 100K, and having my little time to chill, and it's good.
Yeah, but no matter how resourceful you are, like, you so right to call it out. We got people taking their 10th serving before somebody else has even taken a first. That doesn't make any sense. It's not good for anybody.
I want to go back to the vision of North
Oh yes, so
Nashville. Yes,
yeah. Let me tell you
yes.
about that. So, my vision, but also like the vision of a lot of people that I've met and talked to, a permanent space for the arts in North Nashville that is preserved space. It is dedicated to the arts, the legacy of North Nashville as a creative space, to the prosperity of artists. You know, I dream of a big mixed use space that has studios and housing for artists at the top, for people who, you know, need to start and get there, and then different levels of your career. You know, if you aren't starter when you get in there, but you still ain't all the way there yet, you get, you know, this. And then at the bottom, small businesses supporting that space, right? Being able to make their living with their small business, funding into the building that then supports these artists at a subsidized rate, and offering services that are there. Business classes, understanding how business works. Because again, like if you're an artist and somebody's like, oh, you should sell these, and you just kind of throw it out there without, you know, understanding how business actually works and how it affects you, and how to actually make it worth your time, because that's full time, over full time, because it's 24/7 when you own it. You know, understanding that before getting into it, so that you can build wealth for yourself and family, but do it ethically and in community, and be able to actually retire one day from the work part of your creation process. Offering services to understand that knowledge and help train people and give feedback, because we live in vacuums, and then when we get online, we've got anything and anybody commenting what are their, credentials? Like, who are you, like, to tell me these things? But getting honest feedback, constructive criticism, reviews of what you're doing, help with the writing part, because we're not all writers, we're not all artists, but if we all have our services that we can offer and provide and support, because they'll still be paying into it, like, and we support people where they're needing it most, right? And my vision is that space in North Nashville, preserving that legacy, supporting the new legacy and the new generation of artists and creatives, and then they paying back into the system. It's and making it a cycle. Like, hey, you graduated from here, we check in with you, all the time. Come back this often to do this work, and it's a part of how you get in the program. Like, because when you pay into something with blood, sweat, and tears, and then you get back to it after you make it out of it. It just makes sense. Why not? Again, why not?
And it's meaningful.
It's meaningful, right? Also, I think, it's going to be telling ourselves some hard truths, as a neighborhood and as a community, about, again, coming together on one accord. What do we really want? Do you really want a community? Or do you just want to try to do like has been done, get your money, get your start here, and then leave it to go somewhere else and water their lawn.
So this is where we're talking about individualists and collectivists.
But that's a mindset shift for a nation that is caught up in false notions of individual greatness overall, and why we have the issues we have now.
Right.
I once heard delusions of self-grandeur.
Totally.
So,
Yes.
It's a pathological unwillingness to look at our interconnectivity.
Yeah. So weird.
It's so weird.
Yes.
I be thinking, I've been like, man, is this a bubble? Am I? This a movie?
Yeah. TV show. Yeah. I feel like North Nashville would make an amazing arts district. It's
It
just
is,
really, up and coming. So
Build
it's an amazing vision.
If people would invest in the right areas and like don't listen to flowery talk, show up and see what they're doing, put the money into the hands of the people that you see are consistently doing the work and not just the facade of flowery video or talk, but who out there working? How talk to the community? Did they go attend, look at the feedback, like and put some things out there and see what happened. Plant a seed and watch it grow.
Exactly.
Right.
The solutions are existing there in the community. They just need to be nourished and listened to, not some outside force coming in and imposing and saying, here, we got the solution for it. No, the solution exists. It needs to be nourished.
And I think, maybe some of the pushback against this concept of an arts district is that in North Nashville is that it's very niche. But I'm always embarrassed when I have friends who come in and they're like, what do you do in Nashville? And I'm like, haha.
Sit in my house.
It's pretty bleak. So, like, having something that's not like, let's get drunk and listen to country music, whether it's safe or unsafe over there. Like, in an area that's chill, that's with the HBCUs, I take people to the Fisk Galleries all the time, and they're always blown away, and it's such a great experience. And if the city really invested, I think Broadway's really niche. To come to Nashville just for Broadway, that is so niche.
Why are you paying more for alcohol just to walk around drunk? I don't understand.
Embarrassing. Yeah.
But I don't drink, so.
Yeah. So I would love to see that idea really come to fruition in our lifetime, I feel like.
And to actually benefit the artists that are there. Like, so many things come and then too late. We already gone. We can't be here. Or
Not tomorrow.
Yeah, you know.
Yeah.
You know. So yeah.
Yeah. So kind of in our final minutes, we want to ask you, what are the policy changes, or one policy change as a commissioner? Yeah, we're not
You
going
were
to
a
get too
commissioner.
crazy.
How would you fix this mess?
I would really change the policy on the amount that can be given to an individual artist without it being a work contract. And not saying take off guardrails on people abusing it, but like, let's be clear, abuse is a tiny fraction of anything that happens. It really is a tiny fraction. I would make it so that it's based on the project, the scope of what they're trying to do, how much impact it could have. And I would make a policy saying how other of the government offices can support that project in ways to make it more impactful. So say you want to do music in the park. How can parks
That's brilliant.
support
Yeah.
this particular project to make it more impactful for the community as a whole, using a little bit of their budget that they have as discretionary funds to support? Maybe parks can provide them with that stage so they don't have to take out of their money. You know, maybe parks can do X, Y, and Z to support them. So thinking about how we can use the resources we're already paying for to support these artists without giving them extraneous amounts of money, you know, instead of our taxpayer dollars, you know, sending it to them for them to pay private companies. They could be just using the resources we already have. Like, that's a policy I really think that we should think about.
That's a really unique one. I really like that. I think it's very similar to like when you're bringing plans to zoning, and zoning has to be like, okay, now we need to check with codes and all this. Like, just a department that's like, all right, let's funnel this as a metro project.
Yeah. And it doesn't take a bunch of people to do that, because it's not like we're funding 1 trillion projects, right? Yeah. So, you know,
we do it for the developers.
That part. And like, I'm still waiting for these jobs that pay well to appear. You know,
it just looks like they are just sucking off the energy of the people, the funds that we've paid into the system without providing that benefit. And then you're talking about these arts initiatives that provide this community benefit that's so far reaching and so easy to realize. It's palpable. But I mean, goodness gracious, does art affect people's lives?
Man, it really does. Like, I could not be here right now if I didn't have creative outlets and creative spaces in my life. You know, my mom passed away recently. Like, I've been working and staying sane through dealing with that life change. And I don't know that I would be able to have a regular job to do it. I swear, you know. But the work of creation and of accomplishing, like, I feel like I'm a little bit addicted to accomplishing things. I like things to be done. I like things to happen. Be like, yes, okay, this step has been made. What's the next step?
Oh, that's so healthy to see it through to the fruition.
Yeah.
And that's a moment of basking, but of course you use that energy then to feed the next creation. Life is creative, and creativity nurtures life just like love does. This has been an incredible show. I appreciate you joining us so much.
Thank you.
Elisha Israel Morozic, listeners, if you are interested in learning more, you can find Elisha on social at Queen Bee Inc. And North Nashville Arts Coalition is online at northarts.org. It's on Instagram at 37208creates. I just have had such an amazing time talking with you. I appreciate you taking this time. I'm so excited to see what comes next. And if listeners are interested in finding us, we're artsequitynashville.org and on Instagram at artsequitynashville. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I was having a yard sale, but it was just our dignity, you know?
We chanted the mother song, we held our breath in hell.
Exhale. But it's worth just living day by day.
You're listening to Public Comments, an arts equity radio show on WXNA 101.5 FM, Nashville.